Hey guys, Evan DeGraff here. This is gonna be podcast based, kind of loose. Jacob and I are gonna be talking some news, politics, and whatnot. Welcome to our 2 cents. My name is Evan DeGraff. I have our normal host, second host coming back every week. Jacob London, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. This should be a interesting, very interesting show.
I love how you focus on the word interesting, to say the least. Um, but before we actually jump into the show, because there's so much going on with it. Um, Give us some like ideas behind your beliefs and your quote unquote political background, as they call it.
Well, I'm very much a conservative. I believe that in we need a strong fiscal position for for the economy, and I believe that basically that the we need to be able to pay for things before we start getting the niceties. And right now we can't even pay for the basics, so we need to before we can start getting the niceties.
All right. And obviously you live in Australia, which ironically, American politics kind of have a bigger impact on Australia than Australian politics do. Is that true?
It seems like lately it does. We have um, because America is the world economy, and because America is very like the the biggest nation in the world, not like in terms of just the in terms of the economy and in terms of what the power dynamic, I guess. Um, they have a lot of sway and pull over America, over the rest of the world, and because of that, that affects us hugely, and a lot of a lot of the way that America runs America runs things affects my country as well. And since my country is only about a population of 27 million people, it's not that hugely affected for the rest of the world.
Yeah, we'll give some background to who I am and my kind of political basis. Um, I'm obviously a white middle class American. I have I have a decent upbringing, I guess, as you could say. Um, because my parents, you could say, make some decent money, not like, oh, they're super rich or, but we're not super poor. However, I think that's important to know what your upbringing is, especially whenever you speak political, because um, if people don't have an idea of who you are or where you're from, it is it can be kind of contradicting and whatnot. But we'll move forward through about fifth grade. I labeled myself as a Republican actually, um, because my grandparents, the ones that I look up to, they're from the deep south in Virginia, and they're like, oh yeah, the Republican way is the best way. So I walked around, I'm like, oh, it is cool to be a Republican. I was walking around with that. I had that mantra, and I didn't really know what it meant. Then I moved to Tennessee, where I actually learned what conservatism is, and what people really mean. And sadly, some of the racists and the and the racist system that there is there. And I really got a big fold for what it is, but I really didn't truly figure out what my beliefs were until I got into high school and where I kind of fall in all this. And the more research I do in news and the more I learn about it, obviously, then the more it opens up your eyes. Obviously, I'm doing research and news in such an odd time and place in America. I was part of a theater troupe, which is obviously a lot more liberal than other parts of the school. Opened up my eyes to such as things of feminism and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't label myself as either a Democrat or a Republican because one, the second you label yourself as something, you are instantly viewed as that. I will say, I do have more liberal views for sure than conservative, but my goal is to listen to both sides of the train tracks because if something's railing right through, if you can't listen to both sides, you don't know how you're gonna be able to jump onto this crazy thing called a train. Um, yeah, Jacob, we're just gonna dive right into it, and we're gonna cover probably the hardest to talk to topic first. The sexual harassment cases, both in media and in potential political positions, and we'll tackle the first one. Um, Arguably the biggest one right now that's being talked about. Not even the biggest one at top, but Roy Moore running for the Senate position in Alabama. What exactly do you know, and what exactly do you think you need to know concerning this?
A lot of what I know is that he is running for an office. He's running for office. There is charges against him that have never been convicted in a court of law. This is I've never dived headfirst into the research around this. This is just because I don't know a lot about the individual races with
Yeah.
American politics. I do know a lot about my own personal politics, which is the Australian politics, but I don't know a lot about.
Which I do have
Um,
to say, we will in this podcast we are going to be doing about 20 minutes of Australian politics, just to prove how messed up Australia is compared to America. Keep going, Jacob.
Absolutely, we are. No, but I know that he's never been convicted in a court of law, but there are some very serious and very damning allegations against him. And this is going to affect, and that potentially can affect him running in this seat.
So Roy Moore is running up against Doug Jones, who is a Democrat in Alabama. As we all know, Alabama is a very conservative state. That state, if you give a random citizen, we'll say mid 30s, right? They will vote all R on their ballots come 2018 or 2020 elections.
Hmm.
So Doug Jones really isn't a guy that they're for. However, the Roy Moore things, a lot of pundits. Well, let me talk about what he's done. At the moment, he has two big cases against him right now. One pertaining to a 14-year-old when I think about 20 or 30 years ago, and the other pertaining to a 16-year-old. He was forcing himself onto them, saying, "Oh, you will never know the consequences of X, Y, and Z. They'll never listen to you. I'm the judge of Alabama and X, Y, Z." And just a fun fact. I can't say it's really fun, but something that a lot of people like to poke fun at is he was banned from a shopping mall in the 80s due to harassing teenage girls. Um, so that is your quote unquote proof that he's done it, rather than just a word, but like, hey, this actually happened. However, I don't know if it's enough to sway the people in um, the people in Alabama to vote for a Democrat. But what the implications of this is, we'll dive deeper into the tax bill later. However, the that vote is so important because of Republican senators such as Suzanne Collins and John McCain, who will sometimes vote opposite uh, due to them being a wild card, as they would like to call them, because they vote on what they think is right or wrong. And so that Roy Moore vote is so important for the senators of the United States, because he will vote with the GOP no matter what. So, issue being is, what's more important? A lot of the GOP House of Representatives, a lot of the GOP Congress have said, "I do not support this guy. He has done these things. We need to believe women more." And that has shocked me. I have to be honest. That has shocked me that GOP House of Representatives and senators have said that. However, the White House, they have not made an official statement pertaining to that. We have seen clips from both Kellyanne Conway and Donald J. Trump saying, "We just need those votes for the tax bill. We need those votes. We need those votes." And I think that's an issue, because it's now becoming a numbers game rather than a who is the right person for this job because they are controlling the direction of the country. With that type of information, Jacob, you know, what's more important, the vote or the person who's in that seat?
There's a right answer and a realistic answer to that question. The right idealistic answer to that question is the right person for the seat. And yeah, that is the answer that 99% of human beings would like to give. But there is the realistic answer as well, which is, well, Republicans want power, Democrats want power. This person might not be the right person for this state at this time, but we don't want to lose the power. And that's that comes into, that's a realism, that's just realism of politics and of life in general. So I think, like, I personally, yeah, I think the right person for the role, he's probably, I don't think he is, Roy Moore should be elected, and I do think Doug Jones should have this Senate seat over him, if because clearly, based on these, it seems as though these allegations are true. But at the same time, the realism answer says that both sides of politics don't care about that. And we've seen that in the past, that both sides of politics won't care about that because they will want the numbers. And we've seen that in the past in all elections.
Yeah. What baffles me is practically all of Congress has said have put him on a lone island and said you are not coming here. Yet we see the executive branch say, we'll give him a shot. Does does that show the disunity between the executive branch and Congress, even though the majority is both in the Republican Party? And is that an issue for progressing and making and getting the Republican way done in politics right now?
Absolutely. If there is anything that the last 12 months has shown us within the Republican Party in general, has been nothing but disunity. Now, um, we have seen absolutely just the fact that Trump hasn't been able to get anything really through in the last 12 months. He has not had a major political win in the last 12 months. That it just proves there is huge disunity and huge internal conflict within the Republican Party at the moment, and we are seeing that in pretty much every news story that comes out about the Republican Party lately.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to poke some fun at this. There was some more things going on with this Roy Moore story. So Project Vertigo, and an independent news source. That's a YouTube channel. They now have around like 500K subscribers. So this lady came up to the Washington Post, I think about 3-4 weeks ago, and said, "I have a case about you regarding Roy Moore." Now, the Washington Post, probably one of the most esteemed, you could say, media sources, did their proper research. And this woman's story was back and forth. She claimed that she works for a conservative media outlet. And then she also said, yeah, Roy Moore did X, Y, and Z to me. And then they kept interviewing her, making sure that their research was done right. And it led them to Project Vertigo. So the Washington Post goes ahead and says, hey, can we set up a quick interview with you guys? Project Vertigo says, okay. Washington Post shows up to Project Vertigo's place and says, they start doing the interview. But guess what Project Vertigo does? They say, no, we're going to conduct our interview. Now, there's 2 different releases of this clip. The Washington Post, of course, have released what we know as the full clip. And Project Vertigo has released an edited version where it's much smaller, many more cuts, making Washington Post look like the bad guy. But in the Washington Post clip, you clearly see Project Vertigo saying, oh no, I'm gonna interview you. I'm gonna interview you. I'm gonna interview you. I'm gonna interview you instead, when it was Washington Post interviewing Project Vertigo. Now, why this is important is because the lady who came to the Washington Post works for Project Vertigo, and set up a false story regarding her accusing Roy Moore of sexual harassment. And there are ver- I've been project. I would like to apologize. It is Project Veritas. If there's a Project Vertigo out there, I just gave you a bunch of free publicity. Project Veritas. Um, I really shouldn't be even saying their name for the job that they did on this case and potentially screwing up and making a political party look bad for no proper reason. But what the point was, they were trying to get the Washington Post to put out a misguided story regarding sexual harassment in Roy Moore to purposefully make the Democrats look bad. There has to be a line drawn here, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, fake news is fake news, and by like trying to, I'm not going to be the one being able to sit here and defend the Republican Party for this, because the last 6 months, the Republican Party have been a fucking nightmare, and they keep doing the most shadiest stuff. They keep doing the stupidest and weirdest things in the world, and it is really, really difficult for me to sit here and say the beliefs that Republican Party have are the beliefs that I have, which from a very, very macro level, kind of like there are things that the Republican Party believe that I also believe. I don't agree. I don't believe in a lot of the things the Democratic Party believe in. So, like, it's hard for me to sit here and say, "Oh no, I can't sit here and tell you that. Oh yeah, no, the Republican Party did the right thing. They didn't. They're fuckwits. They're
Yeah.
idiots, and they're completely off the reservation in all of this at the moment, and it is a complete shambles. But at the same time, I can't sit here and say that, oh, I truly believe that everything the Democratic Party do is 100% innocent and 100% correct. And
Oh
I can't
no.
say that either. And I'm not and I know you're not expecting me to say that either.
Hell no.
I'm just like, and no, and obviously no one believes that either. And it's kind of one of those things where it's just like at the moment, yeah, the Democratic Party is the better party. I'm full on admitting and happy to admit to that and say
Which
that.
is insane to think regarding the things that we heard about Clinton and the DNC. Like the
Yeah.
fact that those words just came out of your mouth shock me.
And like what frustrates me so much is that, I'm very much a conservative, and Democrats very much are not conservatives. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place with this is, do I support the white supremacy supporting party, or do I support the guys who want to spend all the money that we don't have? Like, obviously it's the Democrats at the moment that you'd want to support, but it's just this is where the divide in politics right now is coming from, and this is what that's my belief right now, is that at least personally, I think that I'm speaking for a lot of people who have this belief that, well, I don't support the Democratic Party because there is a lot of things in the Democratic Party that I do not support. I
Mhm.
don't support the Republican Party at the moment, but like what like I just who do you support, and how can you support either of them? And this is where the frustration and the anger and the disinterest in American politics and politics in general is coming from.
Yeah. The last thing I do want to cover regarding the Roy Moore story was the Bill O'Reilly conducted an interview interviewing Roy Moore, and that interview happened, and Bill O'Reilly. Oh, I apologize. It was not Bill O'Reilly. It was Sean Hannity from Fox News conducted an interview regarding Roy Moore and the sexual allegations. Of course, Roy Moore stood up there and said, "No, I did not do them," which he can say. Do I believe him? No. But he did that, and a bunch of companies pulled their sponsorships off of Hannity's radio show. One of them being Keurig. And this trend on Twitter, I didn't even find about because I follow a lot of people who work in Hollywood, and they're obviously left leaning people. and Twitter show you trends based on who you follow and whatnot. So I didn't see this trend until I saw it in the news. But people were destroying their Keurigs because they pulled their advertising off of Hannity's radio show. Like, that just baffles me. Don't destroy it, sell it, do something. But why are you destroying a coffee maker? Like, don't be an idiot. Sell it to somebody who would want it. Just like, Jesus, people. I just I just found like there's some things that people do that just completely confuse me. Would you destroy a coffee maker if sorry, would you destroy a coffee maker if they
No,
pulled their advertising off of the news source that you follow?
no, but what the fuck? Like, I
Sorry, it's America.
yeah. Oh, trust me. When we decide to get to the Australian politics, and I'll explain what's happening here, and I'll actually sound like I actually know what I'm talking about. It's just as bad. It's messed up here at the moment.
All right, we're gonna move on from Roy Moore. Let's not, please. If you're from Alabama, and if you want to talk to me about this, I will talk to you about this and why I believe why I believe in what you believe and what you believe, because it is important. I really like, for the sake of moral reasoning alone, I really do not want him in that Senate seat. Man, there's also other reasons that we'll dive deeper into when we talk about the tax bill. But um, well, we're gonna go to a certain Matt Lauer, who was very recently accused. He's in the media, obviously. He was a big guy on Today Show, one of the main hosts. He was accused. The way how NBC worded their official statement was he was accused the day before. They did some research. They had quote unquote beliefs that he did it to other women as well, connections to it, but no substantial evidence. I'm doing air quotes around that. And he was fired. And right now they're looking like they're not going to be giving him his severance at the moment. What's your first reactions to that? Like, just the whole Matt Lauer thing.
Um, Prick deserves it. Um, so okay, some of the absolutely insane things that we've heard coming out of this was that, like, he had a button at his desk that would lock the doors, and that he would, and every single woman who got hired, he would interview personally. And it was just, some of this stuff is just insane and crazy. And I cannot think of just how absolutely insane it is. But
It's insane, but I'm not surprised anymore.
yeah, I'm not surprised either. I NBC's lawyers are going to have to be really good, because if he doesn't have a morality clause in that contract, they're going to have to pay his $39 million out. But it's going to be interesting. It is going to be a very interesting couple of weeks.
What's interesting though is a Variety, and it was the New York Times, right? They're working on this piece, what, 2, 3 months ago, and having complaints from multiple women. And there was also an interview um, from Matt Lauer's main partner 3, 4 years ago on the Today Show. This is a Bravo interview, but take it for a pinch of salt. The main guy, Andy from Bravo, interviewed her saying, "What is one of the most annoying things about working with Matt Lauer?" And she said, "Well, he pinches my ass from time to time." She said it live, and no one flinched. If someone said that live nowadays,
Mhm.
it's a different culture.
Yeah.
Which it's a good thing, but it still shocks me that she said that and no one flinched. So this has been a developing story. Obviously, NBC did their best to keep it under covers as much as possible. So we'll flip the script. We'll go from NBC back over to Fox News and Bill O'Reilly. He has been accused by multiple women in the workplace, X, Y, and Z. Megyn Kelly has accused him of X, Y, and Z. When I say X, Y, and Z, I'm speaking of sexual harassment and sexual abuse. Um, so many women, yet he still gets a contract from Fox. Is he really that important to Fox News? This is past like conservative versus Democratic versus liberal. Is he really that important to Fox News?
Yeah, because their numbers went down. Now, here's where it will get interesting in Fox News's like there is, and this is I'm coming. This is not what I believe in. I'm coming to this from a realism point of view of how fucked our world is. All right. So please don't, what I'm about to say, these are not my personal beliefs. These is just, I realize how the world works, and it's Fox News's numbers went down. So they went back to the guy who had high enough ratings. Now, if those ratings stay down because of these accusations against Bill O'Reilly, or the essential proof against Bill O'Reilly, which is like they fired him 6 months ago. So it happened 6 months ago. They've brought him back. If their ratings don't improve, he will be gone. But if they do improve, well, he'll stick around, and it's basically going to come around to you need to make sure that the people who are watching Fox News don't watch Fox News. And that's money talks. Right now, money talks. Now, I think the what we're seeing in Hollywood at the moment is the whole reason that those that that Louis C.K. was dropped, that Kevin Spacey was dropped from films that he has upcoming, that Kevin Spacey was dropped from All the Money in the World. That has nothing to do with with taking the moral high ground. It doesn't. It has to do with the fact that Sony went, we can probably make more money by getting goodwill by getting rid of Kevin Spacey. And same with FX, and go, well, we're going to lose money if we have this guy out there, so let's just cancel the contract and we'll get goodwill. That's where it is. Now, 6 months ago, Fox did that. Fox did we will get goodwill if we get rid of Bill O'Reilly, and it hasn't worked. So they're going to go back and, all right, we'll get him back on. Hopefully our ratings go up. Now, if the ratings don't go up, they'll get rid of him again. That's just a realism. That's just coming from a realism point of view.
Now, I want to ask this question, and it might be a dumb question. It probably is, but do you think that's maybe because we'll say the conservatives who watch Fox News necessarily don't care, or don't necessarily know the impacts that sexual harassment can have on women? Do you think that's part of it on why they still accept Bill O'Reilly? Or is it innocent until guilty kind of thing?
I think a lot of conservatives still have the mindset of, well, where was their day in court? And
our justice system is screwed, though.
I know, but I agree with that.
Yeah.
But that is the mindset a lot of conservatives still have, is, well, have his day in court. That is that your fundamental right is that you are proven innocent until proven guilty. That is a fundamental right that you have.
Yeah.
And it is a sentiment that I agree with. Now, to me, guilty to me is when 6 women come out with screenshots of the text messages that this creep has been sending to her, and that's evidence. To me, that is damning enough evidence to say that is guilty, and I feel no issue in saying that person might not have gone through a court of law, but to me that is evidence, and that is guilty. Whereas in something like the Bill O'Reilly thing, or no, it's actually, I don't even really know much about the Bill O'Reilly one, but something like yesterday we were talking with the Johnny Depp thing. Now, something like the Johnny Depp thing, where both people publicly have now said this issue has been resolved and we have walked away from this issue. Now, to me, I look at that, and if I say, well, that's innocent until proven guilty, well, he was never found guilty. The accusing party has walked away. To me, he is still innocent because he was never proven guilty.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So, in a conservative's point of view, even past a court of law, like this is I'm speaking past a court of law now, and I'm not speaking for all conservatives, but we'll say we'll say a portion of those who tune into Fox News about that. They have to get a ruling from a court of law until they believe it.
Look, I'm not speaking on behalf as someone who doesn't
Right.
watch Fox
No,
News.
no, 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 no.
I'm
I'm
not.
trying to have a
Yeah,
conversation, trying to
I
understand
know.
like
But from my belief, yeah, I believe that that would be there. That either that some people's physical evidence would have to be from a court of law. Now, I mean, hell, that is why people still turned up to a comedy show with
Bill Cosby.
oh my god, Bill Cosby. People still turned up to a comedy show with Bill Cosby. Like that is still happening. So, you're gonna have people who are he is innocent until he has been proven guilty in a court of law.
Yeah. Yeah, it just baffles me because there's a statistic out there. Only 3% of all women who are raped, their predator is thrown in prison. And out of those 3%, there have been many, many cases about those predators. It's just something that we need to fix in the court of law, especially just with rape cases, because the evidence is more difficult because you're hearing about a story and it's difficult for someone to come out about a rape story because they're, embarrassed. It's hard to talk about. It's something that can be deep and emotional. I think that's where part of our court system is failing, and we'll dive into it because there are so many other places where the American judicial branch is completely screwed. Um, but we'll move on. We have one more sexual. There's so many cases to talk about, but we have one more big one. The president of the United States. Yes, I just said those words. Donald J. Trump has, I think, up to 20 sexual abuse allegations on him at the moment. What does this mean? Jack shit apparently, because his lawyers are that good. Um, that and it's hard to cover news like this, and it sucks to say it, but it's hard to cover news like this whenever you have stories like we'll say the tax bill, Michael Flynn, things that we'll cover and later on. But how do you talk about Trump? Like how it's just something that's not talked about. Our president, not our president, sorry, my president has 20 sexual harassment cases on him. Like, how is that not a big deal?
Because it is a big deal. And again,
No, no, I know.
I just want to reaffirm that these are not my beliefs. I am speaking from a realism point of view of this is how I now see the landscape at the moment, and how I see these are not my beliefs at all. I just want to reiterate that. But those allegations were known, were public, were well documented months before the election,
Right.
and he still won.
I think
So
I think a
it
lot of that
just
has to
goes,
do with media coverage, and I'm speaking both left and right wing media coverage pertaining
yeah,
to those.
yes, but at the same time, the I've totally blanked on his name, but the pussy comment. I can't
Billy
remember who.
Bush.
The Billy Bush comment. Yeah, the Billy Bush conversation, the and audio that leaked. That was huge. That got wall to wall media coverage everywhere. We knew about it here in Australia. It got wall to wall media coverage. There was that one. There were more than just the Billy Bush one as well that got massive media coverage. So yes, I agree that it wasn't huge, and the me I completely agree that in the election Donald Trump was not treated as a serious candidate early enough. That is the biggest takeaway from the 2016 election was that he was a joke candidate who suddenly became serious because people were considering him a joke candidate, and they went, "Oh my god, this is hilarious! We have to. We're showing his entire press conference because his entire political conference because it's hilarious." Before realizing that, oh shit, he's a real candidate and he could actually win this thing.
Yeah. It's funny is that the only part of that tape that you really heard immediately was the grab him by the cat. And when you break it down, the stuff beforehand, like the stuff before that line he says in that tape, he legitimately admits to sexual harassment. He goes, yeah, you can do whatever you want to them. You can force yourself upon them. You can kiss them. You can do whatever you want. He
Yeah.
literally admits the sexual harassment in that tape.
Yeah.
It's just insane
yeah.
to think about.
I know.
And sadly, pertaining to this and coming to Trump, nothing can be done to him. He is in one, too powerful of a position. Two, the people who were probably who that had been done to probably don't have enough money to fight him in any type of courts. And three, there's so many other like things on people's minds compared to these cases where to them it's nonchalant. And it sucks to talk about because it's something that it shouldn't be. But it is what it is, sadly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But now we're gonna move on to a happier topic. The tax bill. That really isn't a tax bill anymore. Um I have issues reading taxes. Jacob, all I know is I read it. I looked for around where my parents get paid. We're middle class, remember? And they're increasing our taxes. Aren't Republicans supposed to support the middle class, not hurt us? Um, like what the hell?
I This tax bill is going to screw over everyone in the world. And we can okay. The biggest problem in the last 20 years was the invention of the internet. Now, while it was amazing and we were able to do what we're doing right now, the cost that came with the internet was the fact that the world economy blew up and the fact that you could now get anything you wanted from anywhere in the world. And when you have a country like China and you have other countries where their tax rate is either insanely low or their workforce is insanely low, a country with unions and laws and really really tight laws against workplace and minimum wage and manufacturing and workplace health and safety, it's harder to compete with countries that don't have those type of laws. So I understand where the mindset of this tax bill is coming from. The mindset is, well, we need to stay competitive so that companies will not want to take the jobs, the jobs that they currently have in America and take them offshore because it's cheaper there. I can understand where the idea of this tax bill comes from. What I don't agree with is that as soon as you do that, as soon as you lower the tax rate to 20%, you are that then all of a sudden other countries are going to come to your country and it's a perpetual system and you're screwing over someone else. And you are this tax bill makes sense, except it misses the absolute one key thing that absolutely blows it up within 30 seconds, and that is human nature. It solely relies on the good of multimillionaires, which has been proven in the past to not happen.
So if you're gonna cut taxes, then why not make better brackets? If you're gonna cut taxes on the middle class too. Do what you've been campaigning. Like, look, the second this is me speaking my like this is my thinking. We all knew Trump was lying from the start in his campaign. We knew he was going to be giving big corporate tax cuts because that's what he wants. However, if you're gonna do that, and if the Republicans in the Senate are gonna make their own bill, then do what you've been campaigning to your people. We are going to cut tax on the middle class. Like we'll take Florida for example. Marco Rubio, stand up for your state, do something about it. But no, we're so intertwined in these big corporate and organizations giving money to these senators, and that's their main focus now. It's no longer the people; it's the corporations. That's how I see it, at least.
Well, it's re-election.
Yeah,
That's what it is. It's we are standing for, because it's that they're not standing for the people. They're standing to keep their jobs. Because I mean, you think about it. I mean, like the economy now, we are starting to see a huge break between the middle class is starting to die. The middle, like, you are going to start having a wealthier class and a lower economical class.
mm-hmm.
Middle class is starting to lower, or at least middle class is not as comfortable as it used to be, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And what we're going to start seeing in the future is you're relying so much on trickle down economics. And if the last 30 years has proven anything, it's that trickle down economics doesn't work.
Nope.
But the problem also is that socialism doesn't work either. So you're fucked on both counts.
Although we've never tried socialism in a country as big as America.
Now you're starting to talk like a commie.
The Red Scare. The Red Scare, man. No,
Red
the
Scare.
Red Scare
No,
people
look,
actually started getting shot in the 20s.
50s, mate, not 20s.
No, people were getting shot in the 20s too. I was doing some. We were sitting in world. Just a quick tangent. We were sitting in world history class, and my teacher stood up there. He was like, "You thought people were getting shot in the 50s? No, dude. It happened in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Everything building up to the Cold War. People were getting shot and killed, not by citizen to citizen, not by citizen to citizen, but by the fracking government. It's all conspiracy theory, bro.
But look, we could literally have an hour on discussing socialism and
Oh yeah,
capitalism,
for sure.
but the problem you have is with social. Okay, so the big problem with trickle down economics is human greed. The big and is that you are relying on people not to be greedy, which no. And then the biggest problem with socialism is you're relying on people to not be lazy, which again, no. So because as soon as you go, oh, we'll pay, we'll the wealthy will look after the lazy. Well, everyone will start being lazy because they don't have to do anything. So that is the big problem.
Yeah, and,
And
and the
that's
problem is the second you start enforcing harsh rules, that's when you become communist.
exactly. And that's so you there has to be a middle ground. The problem you've got is those are such conflicting ideals. To get to a middle ground of both is damn near impossible. And right now, and for the last 80 years, you had a middle ground. It was nationalism. We look after each country, and each country looks after their own. Then all of a sudden, the birth of the internet and the birth of, hey, that thing in China that you want, so that brand new iPhone that you really want. Well, if we make it in America, it's going to cost us $200 to make, so we're going to have to sell it for 500. And
Yeah.
if we sell it for 500, 1,000 people will buy it. Or we can go make it in China. It will cost us $100 to instead of costing 300 to make, we can make it for we can make it for $50. There's a 20%, and then it will cost us maybe $50 in a tariff.
Well, yeah. Here at the end of the day, no matter what, China's gonna win for a few reasons. One, unless if America does something different, like the moral reasoning and even both sides will say this. You have to be able to pay your people a certain amount of dollar. You have to be able to make sure we can get that tariff. But China doesn't really care. They literally do not care at all about one, moral reasoning, or two, how much money they're giving or going in. Because no matter what, they're either one, their work rate is so low it doesn't even matter. They could be working as slaves and we don't even know it. That's probably the case. Or two, their tariffs are just low and they're impossible to beat.
Exactly.
And no
And
matter what, you're
that's
not going to be able to beat that. And that's something I do agree with. Like, it's too difficult.
yeah, and that's the world at the moment, is that you and so companies look at it and go, well, we can make more money by going offshore. So you have to find a way to make it so that they stay onshore in America.
Right.
And that's what this tax bill is trying to do. Now, it's rushed, pathetically written, an absolute fucking nightmare, and I can't believe that that thing is now is considered a legal document, but that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Let's jump into like some of the issues. It was first I when I first scanned through, it was 16 through like 20 pages or something like that, and I could read through it. I'm pretty sure that was what the government issued to us. And then we heard the night of the voting, senators started handwriting things. They made the bill 500 pages long.
That's okay. That is standard for a bill like this. That a new tax bill for being 500 pages. That's kind of standard. That's to be expected.
Right.
Um,
But the last minute things
yeah,
made
the last minute thing is where it starts getting a bit okay. Hang on.
hey, we're gonna give cuts to private schools, not public schools, private schools. Hey, we're gonna give tax cuts to corporations that specifically help Ted Cruz and that specifically help Donald J. Trump. I'm gonna call them out by name. Hey, we are going to do things to specifically help end abortion. We're gonna do things that will take away healthcare from 2 million plus people. That's not a tax bill anymore. That's literally not a tax bill anymore.
No, it's a and I completely agree with that. This tax bill is just a joke. It is, yeah.
It's a joke that might get passed. And that's the
I'm
scary part.
yeah. I know. And what's sad is that what can you do? Like at this point we can't do anything because the biggest problem. Okay, and we can dissect this a bit later because this is a big topic. But the biggest problem over the last 2 to 3 years has been the divide in the media
Yeah.
and the distrust in media. And that has been one of the biggest problems that has led to a Donald Trump becoming president, is people didn't trust their media anymore. Now, that can be because of Fox News, that could have been because ideologies are changing. But the attacking nature of of discussion, where we no longer in this country, in this world, have discussions and debates about
No, we
anything.
don't.
It's no, you're wrong, shut up, you're wrong. And that is on both sides. Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
everyone does that. And
And,
that
right,
has
and I actually I'm gonna do. I don't know what side the viewers are on or whatnot, um, but I have a certain teacher that I talk to on a normal basis, great human being, that it kind of opened up my eyes to see what the quote unquote far left is, because the far right is very easy to identify. Nazi, white nationalist, white supremacist. Very simple, very easy to look at and say, yep, far right. But the far left was a bit more difficult for me to see. and I really had trouble with that, but I'm now starting to see what it is, and it's a dangerous thing. It's just a shutdown of everybody else's ideas, and that scares me. And I just want to throw that out there because it's not just the Nazis and white supremacists. There are far left people who believe that if you voted for Trump, you're the worst human being in the world. Look, I
Yeah.
think you've made a big mistake, but you're not the biggest human. You're not the worst human being in the world. You know, it's just things like that that are really that it's just it's eye opening, and it reaffirms to me that there is a far left. And at first, I was like, far left, really? What? The more research, the more you learn, the more you look around, and the more you just visualize the world, the more you actually see it. And it's
Yeah.
important for everybody to do to open up their eyes.
Yeah. It's the it. I'm not someone who goes, oh my god, like I'm like I consider myself leaning right. Like I'm more I consider myself not, you know, very right. I consider I'm more lean right, but yeah, there is a very far left and there is a very far right, and you can the very far left are the sides who believe in the very far left are the sides who believe that, you know, basically what the this is I'm trying to think of how to like
Right now, it's just a shutdown of any other ideas. That's what it
yeah,
is.
exactly. But the far left is the exact same. Is that they'll just shut down any ideas of anything other than the left agenda, which is the same as the far right. The far right are the exact same thing, and that is what is extremist. That is the extremist point of view.
Exactly. Um, Anything else to add before we move on to Michael Flynn? Our favorite.
No.
All right. So, as you guys know, Mueller has launched an investigation looking into the collusion between Trump and Russia. That's a thing, guys. We have an investigation. This is worse than Watergate, and something hasn't happened. Yep, I just said that. So Papadopoulos and one other were indicted for quote unquote taking money from Russians and whatnot. Yet more words came out that Papadopoulos, this was about a month ago now. Papadopoulos works with Trump. He was a very close advisor with Trump, and Trump may or may not have known that Papadopoulos was working with Russia. Um, and they're claiming that, from what we are hearing, Mueller actually talks to Papadopoulos and said, "Hey, dude, you're going to be indicted in about 2 months. You want to strike a deal with me?" They struck a deal, and people are predicting and thinking that Papadopoulos wore a wire in the Trump administration for about 2 months. That's a big deal. If
Yeah.
that actually happened, that's a big deal. Um, well, did you hear about you heard about this story, Jacob? When you first
Yeah.
heard it, you first called out the miscoverage in media, which is completely fair. But then more details were revealed. As an
Yeah.
Aussie, like what were you thinking about America crumbling in that very moment in time?
I think that I think what's going to happen in the end. I
Let's cover this. We'll talk about what's gonna happen at
okay.
the end.
All right. I This story is going to be very interesting to say the least. Um, I doubt, but at the same time, I doubt anything will actually come from it, like at all.
Okay. Yeah. But I remember I was sitting in my HEC class, and Papadopoulos, it was the two guys who were indicted, and the first things was like, oh, they caught Trump colluding with Russia, blah blah blah. No, it's just two guys receiving money from Russia. But then we later learned that Papadopoulos may or may not have been talking to Trump, and then we also have the story of Donald Trump Jr. emailing a Russian lawyer about getting dirt, quote unquote dirt on Hillary Clinton. Um, I heard about that. That's just monstrous, and the fact that nothing's actually happened from that is insane. And now Michael Flynn, one of the seniors, as they would call it, on Trump's team, was fired from Trump 2 or 3 months ago. Everything's happened 2 or 3 months ago. 2 or 3 months ago, and then now Flynn has pled guilty to Miller, the FBI director, saying I did X, Y, and Z, so there has probably been a deal struck. This means, and he pled guilty to one line to Trump about the Russia thing, about Flynn. Sorry guys, about Flynn emailing Russians and talking with Russians. He lied, saying no, I did not do that. And this is a big deal for a few reasons. Trump should have reported this information as soon as possible. Trump tweets about this, and we'll talk about Trump's tweets. Jacob, you're gonna have fun with that. Um, this is a big deal for a few reasons. One, Trump knew about it. He literally knew that Flynn lied, and he didn't report it as soon as possible. From what I'm hearing and from what I'm reading. And two, it's another one biting the dust in the Trump administration. What are your first reactions, Jacob?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the day that we go into a court case and that a judge is going to have to utter the words, the president tweeted. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Or what evidence does the prosecution have? This tweet by the president. Like, what fucking world are we living in? Like, it makes
It
no
is
sense.
evidence. Sorry, it is evidence.
I know it is, and it's just what world are we living in, and why can't I just wake up? Just like, can I just please wake up? This is this is insane. This is an absolute nightmare for any Trump supporter, anyone who thinks that he that the Trump administration has been a nightmare from day one, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until. But here's the problem, and this comes back to the distrust in media. As soon as you say that, there will be a Trump supporter going, "No, he's just he. No, the media is representing him, and this is all bullshit." Because for the last 3 to 4 years, there is a huge distrust in media.
Yep.
So nothing's going to come of it.
Actually, we'll do this right now. Actually, I was planning to do this at the end of the show, but we'll do this right now because distrust media is important. 3 sites right now that if you were to give to viewers that you could say these are sites that I trust, and that if you want to go get news rather than what you would say is a left-leaning or a right-leaning website, but 3 websites that you trust. If you had to point the viewers to 3, what 3 would they be? And I say 3 because you always need to check multiple sources.
Washington Post is a big one that I do check religiously. The Australian is another one that I do trust. I know a lot of other people don't because it is owned by it's who owns that one again? I fucking can't remember. Like the problem is you can't trust something owned by Fairfax, and you can't trust something owned by the Murdoch. The problem is that is majority of journalism within Australia, so that it's hard for us to find something for me to read. But Washington Post is a big one that I read, and so is the Australian. They're my 2 go-to, really.
Okay. All right. So the 3 sources I would be covering were reading and recommending to you guys is 1, the Washington Post. I'm on track with Jacob there. The New York Times, and then also the BBC, because it's an outsider's point of view on America.
Yes, definitely BBC. I did forget about that one. Yeah.
Those are my main 3, and also like the Washington Post. I want to throw it back to that Project Veritas thing real quick. This is their thing on Trump, and they've outright said this. They will say when he's done good. They will say when he's done bad. but just know they are against him. And they outright said that. They said in our editorials, we will destroy Trump. But whenever we are reporting the news, it is the news.
Yeah.
It is what we have learned.
Can I ask, what opinion shows do you watch?
What opinion shows? I watch a lot of I watch the Philip DeFranco show. It's a YouTube show. Very digestible, very short, very simple, very easy.
Okay.
He's a moderate.
The two opinion shows that I watch are two very different type of opinion shows. I watched this one that's in Australia that's on it is owned by Rupert Murdoch, but I do like a lot of the things he says. And he is very much a realist.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Paul Murray Live. So I watched that a lot. And the other one that I like watching is John Oliver on Last Week
Oh
Tonight.
yeah. Sorry, Stephen Colbert.
Yeah,
is one I go to.
Colbert's on a little too late for me. It's just on at a bad
dude,
time.
no, he practically posts his whole show on YouTube.
Yeah, but no, Last Week Tonight is a big one that I like watching, and you got to remember we don't get a lot of the stuff on YouTube. They ban it because of Foxtel. Don't ask. There's an entire different topic for another day. So yeah.
All right. Actually, talk about the internet real quick. This wasn't planned, but I completely forgot about it. Jacob, give us just your quick spiel on net neutrality and why it's bullshit that the FCC is doing what they're doing.
Doesn't affect my country. No, I'm kidding.
It probably will. Don't get it wrong.
Why? We don't have a Australia does not have net neutrality laws.
Yeah.
Like, we have nothing. We have no net neutrality in Australia. It's just, the telcos know that as soon as they even attempt to do any of that, people will riot, and that there will be a law created. So there's this perfect balance in it will never happen. Plus, also, the telcos have no power here. Like, they don't own anything. Whereas with you guys, they own everything.
Now, tell us why it's going to destroy America, please.
It's going to destroy America because it is absolutely messed up. And the fact that they even want to consider changing it is just insane and messed up and makes no sense. Like, absolutely no sense. And I have not found a single person who I have talked to that disagrees with me on that.
Do you understand Do you understand the free market argument? Because I don't. Because cable and internet is not a free market.
No, I do not understand the free market argument. The free market argument is that, hey, no, it's a free market so that they'll be able to change anything. No, it already is a free market. Like, it is already. It is a free market. The internet is a free market because you can do whatever you want. If you decide to change that, you don't make it a free market anymore. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't even need to give my opinion on this because that's kind of what Jacob said. But if you disagree, let us know and why. I've yet to actually hear a legit reason other than free market, and the reason behind free market is just, to me, absolutely bonkers. But if you have a legit argument for it, let me know. I'm willing to hear. Because this whole net neutrality thing is insane.
I do just want to. I do just sorry. I do want to. Comcast had the funniest tweet I ever read about this the other day.
Oh yeah, dude.
We promise we will not that we will not abuse this system. Yeah, Comcast supports we will not abuse this. Like, we promise we will not abuse this or something. Yeah, and like, we believe that. Like, it makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, and it was just hilarious. And it's like, dude, you have like a precedent for this shit. We don't trust you. That's the problem. We do not trust you.
That and Comcast is notorious for these things. Like, let's be honest. This is your turn, Jacob, where you tell us how screwed up your country is. The land before time, the place of kangaroos.
Welcome to the land down under.
Exactly.
This should have its own theme song. Anyway, we're messed up as all hell. You may have heard recently that we just passed same-sex marriage. It only just came into Australia. It is now legal. It is 100% legal. Same-sex marriage has passed in Australia, and good on that. It passed on Wednesday with absolutely zero religious protection laws, which is just, to me, is slightly messed up, because I feel like there should have at least been a little bit of religious protection, at
What
least
do you mean by
something
that?
in. I mean, the ability for a church to say, we do not want you to get married in this church. Like, at least give them, like, because to me, that's like, that if a minister says, well, I don't want to marry a same-sex couple based on his religious beliefs, to me, that is, I can understand that. That is a separation of church and state. And if he said, and if, no, I do not want to because of my religious beliefs, okay, that's fine. To me, that should have been in there. But that's something that they didn't want, because it's discrimination, which I think is, it's hard for me, because marriage is such a religious ceremony, and it's kind of one of those things. Like, I get it comes with all these protections as well, which is why I'm a full supporter of same-sex marriage, because of the protections and everything in there. I'm also do believe there should have been religious protection laws in there. The other big thing is, so at the moment, the Australian Constitution, Section 41, has this thing in there that says you must be a solely Australian citizen to serve in Parliament. All right, you cannot have any allegiance to another country. Turns out a lot of people weren't reading the Constitution correctly. And right now we are in the middle of, I think the number at last count was at about 8 people who are dual citizens of another country. So they have a dual citizenship. Now, we are also learning that it's very easy to become a dual citizen of another country. So we had one senator whose grandfather was born in England, and because of that, she is technically a dual citizen of England, and she was ruled ineligible to serve in Parliament, which is just messed up on so many levels. Anyway, so that's happening at the moment, and our entire Parliament has just decided to shut down, basically, for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, that's what we're going through. Oh, and also the other big debate at the moment is whether or not letting this ultra-right guy named Milo Yiannopoulos, that is so many vowels, letting him into the country to talk. He is a alt-right speaker. He has very ultra-conservative views. And the left are screaming and yelling that he should not be allowed in the country. So that's what we're dealing with at the moment.
Okay, so just Richard Spencer 2.0, except the guy from another country, so probably even more ultra, is trying to go somewhere. Do you know where he's trying to go in the country?
He's just doing a talk. He's just doing he's going to a few universities and doing talks at universities. And
Are your universities public or private?
They're a mix of both. Like, okay, so the way our system works is we have this thing called HEX. It's a HEX system. So what happens is the government will pay for your tuition. And then once you start earning over, I think now they lowered it to 48,000 a year. So once you start earning 48,000 a year, you've got to start paying back your HEX debt, and they garnish like 1 or 2% of your wage.
Yeah.
Per check. So like at the moment, they garnish 2% of my wage, and that comes out of my wage each week.
Mhm.
So it is what it is, and that's just part of the system. I'm paying. That's how I'm paying
Yeah.
back for my university degree.
Well, I asked that because we had Richard Spencer and alt-right. Well, okay, we'll call him by what his name, and then I'll say what it really is. A white nationalist, a really white supremacist, come onto the University of Florida campus because it's a public school. If they try going to the University of Tampa's campus, they could reject him because it's a private property. So I just asked because I'm curious about that. So, do you think he'll be able to come in or not?
Oh yeah, he will. He'll come in because he's his thing is free speech. He's a defender of free speech, and it will give him too much power. It will the alt left are very so the far left in this country in Australia are called the Greens. That's their party. They are very strong of not letting him into the country, and they're trying to ban him. What I don't think they realize is if they ban him, you're just adding more fuel to the fire, and you are giving him, one, more publicity, and two, he can then say, here, look at Australia, they are banning free speech, which is everything that he is talking about. But it's funny because he is if you look him up, he is a gay man married to a black man, and who is half Jewish, like, and everything that they're all saying is that he is a racist, he is anti-Semitic, like that's what they're all that a lot of the attack ads have been about him, and it's like, well, hang on, he's not those things. Like he's married to a black man. But anyway, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
And then the gay marriage stuff, I see where it comes from. I'm not even so sure about the same-sex marriage laws in America, to be honest. Like the whole thing, you know how things aren't written in black and white for people to look at.
Yeah. So
America.
okay. So this was the difference between yours and the way it became law in ours. In America, it became law through the Supreme Court. The Supreme
Right.
Court
Which is
ruled on it, made a ruling that changed the Constitution, or changed the interpretation of the Constitution that led to same-sex marriage being law. The difference for us was there was this national vote. Wasn't a referendum. It was it was they called a plebiscite. And then once we did then anyone could vote in it. They had the plebiscite and whatever it can, and then it came back with a resounding yes. And now just has to pass through Parliament, which it did on Wednesday.
all right.
So it is a black and white document. It wasn't a 7 people ruled on this. It was the country ruled on it.
True democracy. All right. We'll move on to the last Australian story that you covered. So you're telling me that you have 8 people in Parliament, probably more, that are dual citizen.
Yes.
Nice work, Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hilarious. It is, seriously. You just want to look up at the absolute absurdity. Type in dual citizenship crisis Australia, and it will list every single one so far who has resigned or quit over it. And it is insane to look at.
What shocks me is that people are quitting over this, and like in Australia, yes, it's a big deal, but people aren't. We don't have people quitting in America for doing worse things. Sorry, my brain.
Oh no, they're being forced. Like it's not like they're quitting. Oh, I'm a dual citizen. No, it's the High Court forced them out.
Right. I know. But
It's just,
again, my brain doesn't wrap around the facts that that can happen in Australia yet. In the United States of America, if people are doing.
Yeah, it's fun. But
I think that's about it for our show. We're gonna do a master post on Facebook at 3 o'clock p.m. Yeah, so we record this late Saturday night. I want to thank Jacob for being an absolute trooper. Where can the good people find you before I describe everything that I'm gonna do regarding the conversation? Jacob, where can the good people find you?
you guys can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Jacob London, and on Letterbox, where I do all my movie reviews, at Jacob London. Yeah, just I try not to be anything too crazy or too insane. And you can also find me on my brand new show coming out on Tuesday at 5 p.m., which is and the winner is, I will one day remember this off the top of my head, and it will work and it will be amazing. And the winner is coming to you this Tuesday. Really look forward to it, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was supposed to be there, and I blame myself. Just time, space, and money. But I'll be there continuously because I do want to talk about the Oscars because there's some crazy stuff going on. Hashtag Wind River deserves more love and respect, but fuck you, Weinstein. You guys can follow me on EvanderGraph15 on Twitter and then on Facebook. Here's how this is gonna work. Because one, this is an iTunes feed, and this is also going to be an audio version of the podcast on YouTube. We're still working on the RSS feed on iTunes. There's iTunes, likes to make things more complicated than it should be. That's perfectly fine, but we'd like it to be sooner than later. How this is gonna work is in the YouTube comments, you guys can talk amongst yourselves and how you believe, but I will be actively participating in the conversation in the master post of the YouTube link on Facebook. You guys can follow that on Take Three Productions on Facebook, and join our group so we can have a discussion pertaining to this. I want to have a discussion. I don't want to hate on others because everybody has their own idea. Look, I probably disagree with a lot of people. I probably agree with a lot of people. I'm gonna make that blatant and clear, but I'm not gonna hate you for having an opinion, unless if your opinion has something to do with the facts that you hate black people because they're black. But that's something that I don't expect out of a great audience that we have here. So look, we do have rules pertaining to politics and comments. It's only gonna be within the Facebook master post, and it's only gonna be within those YouTube comments because I really do not want to make people feel uncomfortable and Take Three Productions because it is an escape. We have to talk about that. It is a mostly movie channel, right? So we want to make sure we can still keep it a safe environment for people who Take Three Productions as an escape, but also for those who want to speak the news and the politics with us, have the opportunity and have the open forum to do it. So look, I want to thank all you guys for listening. This was more laid back show. We are probably gonna work on some structure, but I really like the idea of being laid back, especially with the fact that Jacob and I are finding our tempo. We will probably be bringing in guests soon. If you guys can think of someone, a friend, or somebody who is active in the space, so I do know who they are, or can research and be like, okay, this is their work. That's good by me. Then drop them in the comments. Talk to me about them, and potentially they can come on. That's it. Thank you very much. That was our 2 cents. I'd like to thank Jacob London, the Aussie bloke, and myself, the American idiot. And that's it for today, guys. Take care.